What's going on, everybody? It's your boy C-Zar, and we are talking about Zebec today, ZBCN USD. Hit that like button, subscribe. Thank you all for being here, and let's get into it, okay? It is the 8th day of June. It's been a few days since we talked about Zebec last. We did see a little bit of recovery here. It's nice to see. 10% up 2 days ago. A little bit up, a little bit more up yesterday. Giving you an opportunity to sell at prior points of support. Now, it's kind of interesting the dynamic that we have at play here. I mean, first and foremost, very clearly and very obviously, I'd like to state that we are continuing to move lower. This is not the low, just like this was not the low, just like this was not the low. We are continuing to move lower, and we will see prices that are not just below the current low, but even below this low here. I believe we're on a path that will inevitably take us to new all-time lows as well. That will take more time. Let's say focus on the short-term stuff, okay? But it's interesting that from here, at one point I remember saying this is the worst point to sell since the high, but it's still a good point to sell in the sense of this overall move, and it's a point at which you can get out and it's not too late. Now that is, instead of it being the worst time to sell, it's like the best time to sell relative to this move here, because now it's a high point. What was a low point is now a high point, is all I'm saying there. We're finding support, we're finding resistance at prior support, just like we did here where we found resistance at prior support here. Both times actually finding resistance at prior support. So continuing this bearish structure. If we move up from here, cool, that's fine. Maybe I'm wrong by that degree, whatever. We're still going to move down. But likely what we're seeing here is resistance, a rejection from prior support, and that's exactly what it looks like. That's exactly how I'm taking it. This move up came without any volume at all. The most volume that we've seen since the beginning of May happened on this move down. So I'm not anticipating any kind of significant recovery from here personally. Can happen, but I doubt it. I doubt it. If we're looking at this on the 1 hour time frame, we'll zoom in a little bit. Again, you're moving up here without any real volume coming in at all. You had some volume at the low. It's nice to see some volume breaking down. Probably what sent you up here. I'm sure there's some distribution going on. Looking at the 1 hour RSI, it does seem as though you're in a bearish kind of formation right now with these lower highs here, right? Lower highs. You have broken out of your uptrend, and you probably have a day with destiny to the oversold zone. When you get oversold, that's typically when things start to kick off. I'm not going to compare this prediction of the oversold zone to the last time we were oversold. I'm going to compare it to this time that we got oversold here, because here it has been some time since we've been oversold, where here this oversold iteration was a stepping stone of all these other oversold iterations. Okay, so I'm going to compare this, what I'm expecting to happen, more so with this. Okay, we look at this here. This was, May 30th. That was a relative high point. Your overall high was April 27th, about a month later. That was a relative high point. This, however, was the beginning. This oversold area was the beginning of this next step down. And I think that's what we're seeing here is a little bit of recovery. Isn't it funny how similar this looks? A little bit of recovery, a little bit of recovery. And if we get oversold, we start to get oversold, that could be the beginning of this next phase down, lower. This is a 1 hour time frame. This isn't going to take months to occur. This should take days to occur. Stochastics rejecting the 50, that's bearish. Days and weeks even. The MACD is actually kind of bullish. There's some not bullish things going on as well, though, and you can turn this bullish look into a bearish look really easily. But bouncing off the zero was a good look, but now you're crossing below the zero. That's not good. The only good thing you have is this bullish divergence, but I don't know. Is this the move from that bullish divergence? What if you start moving lower and you get rid of that bullish divergence? Like, let's see, do we have an example of that? I mean, like this here would be kind of a good example. You had some bullish divergence here, then you got rid of it there. You had some bullish divergence, you saw a little move up, but then you started to move lower. I don't know. Maybe you get a little bit of a move up, but the RSI, the stochastic, suggests that we go lower. If we do get a little bit of a move up, cool, but you're still going lower overall. I don't believe this bullish divergence. I believe that it's going to turn into more bearish momentum as the day and the next coming days develop. The 4 hour time frame here, rejecting the overbought zone. Notice the difference. Okay, we're going to go back to the times before the high was in. Notice how you were behaving. You weren't getting oversold at all. You weren't getting oversold at all, guys. You were getting overbought and getting in the overbought zone consistently, time after time again. Now, right? And then that's whenever you were moving up. That's when you were being bullish. Now, you're getting oversold. You're getting deeper levels of oversold. Sure, you got a little bit overbought here, but really you rejected it. That's an overbought rejection. Sure, you got a little bought over here, but that's rejection, right? That's rejection stuff. These readings are different than these readings. It's very obvious. If you can't see that, I don't know what to tell you. I mean, maybe you can't be helped, but it's quite obvious that these readings are different than the readings we're seeing now. And then here, we're just straight rejecting the overbought zone, which is bearish in itself, whereas we are getting into the oversold zone. The tides have turned. The tides and the price have turned. Stochastics were overbought. We've reset. Now we're coming down. This looks bearish. RSI clearly looks bearish. Stochastics look bearish. And the MACD here is potentially rejecting the zero, which is also bearish. Okay? Rejected the zero here, rejected the zero here. Let's just see what you did both of those times. These are slight rejections. This could be slight or it could be more extreme. We'll see. You rejected the zero there, you came down. You saw a lower low. You rejected the zero over here, you came down, you saw a lower low. Then you had a nice little pump, got overbought, and then you came down. Got overbought here, you came down. Neither of these times, when we rejected the zero here and here, you were not, I guess you were overbought on the stochastics, but you weren't overbought on the RSI. You barely got overbought on the stochastics, but you were not overbought on the RSI. Where here, when you crossed through the zero, you were overbought on the stochastics, rejecting the overbought zone on the RSI. You got a little bit overbought. Here, we're rejecting the overbought zone on the RSI as well. It just seems more to me that we're going to see another phase down here pretty soon with Zebec rather than a phase up, if I had to guess. It can happen. Again, not financial advice, not a financial advisor. Just because we move above this high doesn't mean that we're going to the moon. You know, I think reality is starting to set in. And I don't know how I'm doing. I don't know the inside of everybody's mind. I can only guess and only go off of what I'm starting to see in both the comments and the lack of comments. But here, I sounded like a crazy person. And I said it back here, and I said it back here, that once we're in this range, that's whenever people are going to start to accept defeat. That's whenever it's going to become more obvious. The reason why is because most people bought up here. The reason why is because we're taking out higher lows, we're forming lower lows, lower highs, right? The reason why is now most people are not in the profits. Most people are either in the red or they've lost all their profits, right? If they haven't sold yet. So psychologically, it just made sense to me that this area would be when people start to come around that, okay, the top is actually in. Denial, false hope, now reality is setting in. And the only reason I believe that that is happening right now is because I have gotten a lot less hate for these videos. I've actually gotten a lot more love. I don't think that the haters have turned into lovers. I think that the lovers are just not afraid now to say their piece, or maybe they're just louder voices because the haters have gone. The trolls have gone back to their caves, as I like to say. They're back in their caves because, man, when the sun shines, even if it's a bearish sun, they go back to their caves. And it's unfortunate. We know that a lot of people bought up here. A lot of the volume came in at the top. It's unfortunate. I'm going to say the same words that I've been saying throughout this whole range. It's still not too late to sell. Even if we move up from here and you sell, not financial advice, not a financial advisor, don't chase. Because undoubtedly, I strongly believe we're going to go lower. And not just lower relative to this, lower relative to this. Imagine that you could sell here and buy back Zebec below that low. That's a 42% difference, guys. And I'm not saying we're going to this low. I'm saying we're going through this low. You could have done the wrong thing. You could have bought at the top and you're still holding here. And you sell, man, that's a horrible loss to take. I hate it. It sucks. Silver lining, if you sell here and you time yourself appropriately, you could double the amount of Zebec you hold. That's not going to make your cash any stronger. In the future, it will. In the future, it will. I do believe Zebec will see new all-time highs. I just think we're going to see new all-time lows first, or at least something in that area. It would be very impressive if Zebec did not see new all-time lows. I'll just leave it at that. Very impressive. That doesn't mean that I believe it's going to happen. I mean, it would be impressive, which means I don't think it's going to happen. You look at the RSI, lower lows, lower highs. Lower high point here. We rejected the 50. Now we're rejecting the 40, 45 area. Come down to the oversold zone. On the bright side, guys, on the bright side with these trends, these higher lows, higher highs, when you get into the overbought zone, that's typically when you start to look for a reversal of the trend. Okay, same thing to the downside. This is the bright side here. When you get into the oversold zone, that's when you look for the reversal. Now, Zebec could do this. It could continue to do this. You know, you might be moving down consistently for a long time, and it gets rough, man. When you get these strong readings in the oversold zone, it's not like if you're doing this in the RSI that you're doing this in the price. No, when you start getting oversold, this stuff is like dramatic, dude. It's bad, okay? This could happen. But more often than not, what would likely happen is this next area might be the low point of this trend for the RSI. And then you form bullish divergence and then you move up. Now, just because you get a higher low doesn't mean you're moving up either, right? I said bullish divergence. That would mean we form a low. We probably get a significant drop. We form a slightly lower low. And then you've got that bullish divergence, something to work up from. You likely, this dropping that we're seeing with Zebec right now, it's not going to persist too much longer. With that being said, I would assume a couple more weeks, probably a couple more weeks. And the negative side to this positive thing here, right? The positive thing we're looking forward to is the breakout of this downtrend. The negative side is, if I'm right, you're going to see a lower low in the RSI, which means you're getting a deeper reading in the RSI. Again, don't think of it as price. This doesn't mean that you're just going to see a reciprocated move down that's like this. No, what that means is you're seeing the strongest reading to the bearish effect that you've seen since February. What happened when you saw these strong readings in February? You saw a tenacious drop. We saw a drop that lasted about a week from high to low, dropped 47%. Okay? Exciting for the RSI because in a time-based manner, you're almost done with this downtrend. Not exciting in the sense that the biggest move of this downtrend is probably coming. So what do I mean by biggest move? Do I mean 47%? Maybe. It could be bigger. It might not. Maybe it's half as big. What I mean is we look at the RSI getting oversold, getting the strongest reading of this trend. That means that we're going to see a stronger move than what we've seen so far. So from a high to a low, you've seen a 25% drop in a short amount of time. From a high to a low, you've seen a 25% drop in a short amount of time. From a high to a low, you've seen a 30% drop in a short amount of time. From this high to a low, you're likely going to see something greater than a 30% drop. So now let's lay on our fibs with that logic from a low to a high. And I say likely. It doesn't mean it has to happen. And maybe it happens. Maybe you drop 40%, but it's in the form of a wick. You're there for an hour, and then you're back up before you know it. You know, and when I say back up, I do not mean this. I just mean back up to something that's not 40% down. But 30% from here takes you below the golden ratio. So not financial advice, not a financial advisor. For a while now, we've been targeting this golden ratio area, 00217, 00202. It's possible that you hold support there. What you would need to do is not see a dramatic low. You'd want to not see a lower low. You'd want to see some type of bullish divergence where you do get a lower low here and you bounce right off the golden ratio. If you see something like that, okay, it is possible. Maybe you drop still a significant amount, 22% to 26% in the form of a wick, but you close below there. You could see bullish divergence that way. But if I'm right in my assumption that you're going to see a lower low, then things have changed. We're not finding support at the golden ratio. You're going to the 786, 886 zone. That's the next target area. And that is a greater drop than what you've seen, 25, 30%. The 786 is a 34% drop from this relative high. The 886 is about a 40% drop from that relative high. You saw a 47% drop last time. We could be more bearish, but I'm suspecting at least that if you're going to tear through your golden ratio, you're not going to tear through this. You probably find some support there before moving lower. You know, maybe a little bit of a staging area. You find support in this area and you consolidate, and you take a break for a second before going lower. Okay. All that to say, my friends, if I've confused any of you, if I just rambled and I lost myself for a second there, let me bring it back. Let me just say it plainly. From here, 00261, I believe confidently that your next support area is not 002. It's not 00217. It's 0018 to 00166. You are about to see the strongest move down that you've seen throughout this whole range. And likely from there, you will chill and then break down at a later date. You're likely going to chill like you did in this area last time. You're going to chill here, and then you're going to break down at a later date. That's my expectation. It's not too late to sell. I don't have anything else to say. I'm going to end the video there. Oh, here, this is a good example, right? Bullish divergence that turned into something bearish, right? Bullish divergence with a cross below the zero. I don't trust it. I don't trust it at all. Just like on the 1 hour time frame, bullish divergence, but you have the cross below the zero. I wouldn't trust it, guys. And again, if I'm wrong and we see a little bit of a move up from here, cool. Better place to sell. It's a better place to sell than here. But we're definitely not looking to buy. Buying, in my opinion, doesn't happen until we get well below this low. In my opinion, not financial advice, not a financial advisor. If I was looking to DC, oh my God, look at how bad that is, man. 382, rejecting the 236, coming down, rejecting the 382. You're going lower, man. You are going lower for sure. Yeah. I mean, unless you turn this boat around right now, there's always hope. Anything can happen, but yeah, turn that boat around right now. The area that I would start to DCA if I was looking at this for a long-term position would be 0011 and below. And in all honesty, I think overall we're going to see prices that are below 0009, 0008. We're going to see prices that are below 0007. So probably 0006 to 0003, somewhere in that area. That's where I really think we're going to go. That's where I'm going to be buying. But if I was a Zebec hopeful and I didn't believe that C-Zar was right, that we're going to see new all-time lows, and I want to buy at a decent price, this would be a relatively decent price. Maybe from here you see some type of recovery. It's decent for a time, but inevitably I do believe that we go lower as time goes on. I do believe that that'll happen, but 0011, 0008, somewhere in that range. You know, if you don't want to wait for new all-time lows, you're not on board with that, you don't believe that that's going to happen, fine. Just at least wait until we get lower lows here, man. Not financial advice, not a financial advisor. Do whatever you want. It's your money. I got nothing else. Hit that like button, subscribe. Take care. Bye-bye.